Hi, I'm Nasreen Amri, the founder of Carrorism.
And I'm Fonde Bridges, the Carrorist spokesperson.
Well, welcome to Carrorist Conversations. This is episode number 8.
Wow.
And we'll be discussing the Carrorist principle, adversity as your ally.
Yeah.
So we already filmed 1 through 7, and so this brings us back around to number 1. So we get to discuss this topic again, and what's really exciting is that we can just go a little more in depth and have fun with it.
Yeah, I think so. I just love this topic every single time. I will admit that I was looking forward to following your heart today, and
you thought today was
yes, I thought today's show was going to be about following your heart, but I was grateful once I really got into the adversity element, because I do think we come up against a lot of adversity, and once you just read about people who are thinking about it and what they've done throughout history to use adversity as an ally, it's inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a carrorist sees adversity as a necessary energy, aiding them on their journey to becoming the best version of themselves.
Right.
So that's, and what I love about adversity is that it reveals, it gives you clarity about what your current attitude is, or your emotions, or what you need to work on, where you need to grow. Like, for example, my brother and I, we were having a conversation, my brother Vinny, we were having a conversation a couple weeks ago about this topic, and I'm like, really, I've been programming my brain, my being, to see that adversity is an ally. And what I mean by that, like, when we were talking about people in general, and like just people throughout our lives that have kind of bothered us, and we've tried to not be around them because we're like, okay, their energy is really negative, and they feel like they're attacking me, and even put them in the category of being an enemy.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And so we were having this conversation, and I'm like, yeah, but with adversity as an ally, these said people, say they represent the adversity.
They do.
They give you...
Those people do represent the adversity.
Right. They give you an opportunity to practice your positive psychology.
So true.
And so I'm like, they're actually like the opposite of an enemy. They're my ally. And my brother was like, I don't know, that's a little extreme. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to practice it, and I'll let you know the results. So there's a particular individual, and what I end up was challenging for me to be around. And what I did was... You're
being so diplomatic. Look, after this show, I'm going to find out who this individual... Is it me?
No, but...
All right, go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
But I'm always grateful for you, Fawn. You help me all the time, Fawn. Thank you. So I decided, I'm going to summon up the spirit of gratitude, and I'm going to be grateful every time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see this person. Yes, I am so excited and enthusiastic to see this person because I get to practice.
I love it.
I mean, with people that it's like easy to be around, then, you don't get any practice in. So adversity, and I think you mentioned like a few episodes ago, and it was a quote, I don't remember who it was, but they said something along the lines of adversity being like a sparring partner.
Yeah, that was the first episode.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that brings us back around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Yes. So
a healthy word?
Please.
I need to pick?
Yeah.
All right, great. I'm going with the hot pink. One of my favorites. Belief.
Love it.
Let's see what the definition of belief is. Here we go. It's a noun. I like my nouns. It's something you can possess. An acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. Trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something.
Okay, right. So like they often talk about self-belief, which I guess that's what I was saying is like I put that into practice. I put belief in myself that being around this said individual after practicing, seeing them as my ally, I was effective in that communication, like with myself.
Right.
I had positive result. So I believed that I could do it, and I practiced it and got a result.
It's funny. Coming from a religious background, I expected it to be something stronger than simply saying
Like a
that you
implication.
accept that a statement is true or that something exists. But in listening to it, that acceptance point, there's an element for me where it's like, oh, you're not debating. You're accepting. You're taking it in.
Mm-hmm.
It is true.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think faith and belief are sometimes mixed up.
Mixed up, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, trust, faith, but it says here faith is one of the components to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Trust and faith or confidence in someone or something. Huh. Yeah, all right.
All right, great.
Yeah. I didn't really know that literal definition. Though I can admit to believing in all types of things. I believe in stuff. I believe.
Okay, well, thank you for that healthy word of the day. And I picked a person. I'm going to go first. Is that all right with you?
No, it's awesome because based on how many things you wrote down in your notes from today, I am so curious to see what's on all that paper.
There's really just like some facts that are
I am in the audience. I'm excited to know. I believe in you.
I chose this person who I believe definitely showcases adversity as his ally throughout his life, but which I didn't know until I did some research on the person. But I picked an NBA All-Star, I think 1973 player for the New York Knicks.
Okay.
And his name is Bill Bradley.
Right.
So
I've
never heard of the guy before.
I've watched it on YouTube.
But what brought me to reading about him was the particular way in which he practiced. And he took his weaknesses, which were, definitely the adversity in his life, and transformed it into his strengths. So, some cool facts about him.
I love that.
Yeah. So he loved basketball at the age of 10, all right? And then he just continued to play and practice. He was offered 75 college scholarships, but he turned all of them down so that he could go to Princeton University, and he played there.
Okay.
He was a gold medalist at the 1964 Olympics.
Okay.
And then after he retired from basketball with the New York Knicks, he retired in 1977. And then he ran for a seat at with the U.S. Senate, and then so that was just cool just to discover that. I'm like,
he kept finding ways to engage. Yeah,
and so that was from 1978 until 1997. Then he retired from that, and he's an author of 7 fiction books. He hosts a weekly show called American Voices, and does some other really cool businesses. So just like that was some cool facts. But speaking specifically to the challenges with basketball, the one thing that he had going for him was that he was tall. He was relatively tall, but other than that, from what I've heard, he had no talent. Natural talent
ability
for basketball. In fact, it was the opposite. He was kind of like, they said lanky. He was pretty slow.
It's funny, the word I thought of was lanky. I think they always say that about tall guys. Super tall guy, you're lanky, you're not coordinated.
And he couldn't jump very high, so that was another challenge. So his success was based on sheer practice. And so this is where I really saw him put into play that he was sparring with his adversity, his challenges. He was just like dancing with it on the regular. But what's really cool is that he designed by himself one of the most rigorous and efficient practicing systems and
like shooting regimen,
routines,
drills,
and all of the history of sports. So I was like, wow, that's pretty creative. I mean, not only did he have the heart for it, but he definitely believed in himself.
He
Strong
used
belief.
his adversity as an ally to, I guess, transform himself.
Yeah, absolutely. He did cool things, like he put like 10-pound weights in his shoes. He wore these he put these frame glasses on with like cardboard around so that he couldn't see while he was dribbling. He could only see in front of him, but he couldn't see the ball while he was dribbling.
Huh.
And just some really
Neat
really
things.
interesting. Yeah. And so, anyways, he became known for being like a phenomenal dribbler and his astonishing passes and pivoting.
He's an all-star.
Yeah, right. No one knew that he was putting in all this practice, but yes, he is definitely, in my mind, a carrorist who showcased the adversity and transformed it into an ally.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
What was his name again?
Bill Bradley.
Bill Bradley. All right. I love it. I love it. I'm going to go look at some highlights now.
Yeah.
Since
kinda
pretty
want
much
you to.
sports
Yeah.
are closed. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
now I can tell Google to do something. So, I chose someone that also at a young age knew that she wanted to express herself through language. And as you know, I kind of get caught up in these quotes. That's kind of my path. I love them. I love the words. So I begin to research and look for individuals who say something that just touches my heart, like that inspires me, that causes me to really be connected to whoever they are, and then I begin to do the research. So one of the cool things is she was born in Wisconsin near Madison.
Oh, okay.
And she was born, I think the year's 1850. I'm in the 1800s lately.
Yeah.
It's
you've
just where I've
going
been.
there. That's right.
It's fine. If it touches, if the quote hits me, then I'm going to whatever time in history that person's from.
Carrorists were here throughout all of time.
Thank you.
Yes.
So,
they still are.
In the 1800s, I found many. At the age of 8, she began writing poetry, and by 13, she had already published her first poetry piece. The cool part about this is she published the poetry piece in a newspaper that her family could no longer afford to get, in the hopes that she could at least get one copy if they published her work. And they did.
Cool.
And so she received a copy. By the age of 33, she had published her most famous poem called The Way of the World. And it's actually one of the more famous phrases, which is, laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. And I've heard before, laugh and the world laughs with you. I didn't know the rest of the lines. Actually, today I learned a lot about the background and her experience with that. But that would be almost a whole show to talk about that day in her life that caused her to write this piece. During her 30s, she met and married her husband. They created, I think the term is called a bungalow court on Long Island. Now, the cool thing about a bungalow court is that it is a type of living arrangements that people traditionally have done in California since 1910, but her and her husband were doing it in the 1880s. And what it in essence is that there is a group of houses and cottages all around one plot of land and like a farm.
All right.
Or a park.
Sure. Like a community.
It is a community in essence. And so they would always invite like literary or intellectuals or whoever the people of the times were to come and stay in these different places around the plot of land. And they would all have these dialogues, and it was considered a bungalow court. But it didn't become popular and famous even as a thing until it was in California in 1910. And if you Google bungalow court, you end up learning all about, like, it's really pretty. It's actually a pretty awesome and cool concept. I mean, in theory, you could quarantine in a bungalow court and really, one neighbor at a time, get out in sections of 6 feet, and never mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Just saying. So, She also had a son. You're talking about a little adversity. She had a son. He passed away shortly after his birth. So that was pretty intense for her and her husband. And then, whatever that combination is, at 66, her husband passes away.
Okay.
And they had kind of made this contract, spiritually speaking, where they were like, look, when you pass away, come find me spiritually. Right? Talk to me. Come from the ether. If you're going to heaven, holler at God, tell him I need to make that, you need to make one call, it's to me.
Okay, they weren't like, come follow me, like right away.
No.
Like,
it was like, when you pass away, just come
me.
find me and let me know you're good. Life is good on the other side.
I like that. That's sweet. All right.
Yeah. However, he did not contact her. And so she went through a period of like sadness and depression.
Got it.
On the other end, she ends up creating a book that, in essence, makes her one of the first people to create positive thinking. At the time, it was called New Thought. And she sold over 50,000 copies of the book.
Wow.
Because of her experience with that adversity.
So she made it essentially to help herself, right?
Yeah. Oh, so she ended up writing. So she worked on affirmations, but she ended up writing the book. Maybe it was cathartic. I didn't get into that element, but one of the things I do know is she wrote the book because she wanted people to feel empowered by positive thinking and positive thoughts and understanding words as positive resources.
Right.
So that was pretty cool to learn about her. I didn't know that. Before she died in 1919. And so when I say that, her husband had passed away. He passed away in 1916. So before she died in 1919, she had also traveled to France during World War I and had an opportunity to read her poetry to American troops, 9,000 of them, overseas. So that was
live audience. That's pretty
that was pretty powerful. I mean, an audience of 9,000 people at any point where you can share something from your heart is pretty powerful. And so here is the quote that that inspired me, that touched me. Here it is. Difficulties are but dares of fate, obstacles but hurdles to try one's skill, troubles but bitter tonics to give you strength, and you rise higher and loom great after each encounter with adversity. I like that.
I sure do too.
I the part that got me was troubles but bitter tonics to give you strength. Oh, love that.
Yeah.
So the person I chose, I don't know how many people know her, Ella Wheeler Wilcox.
Can't say that.
Ella Wheeler Wilcox. And in essence, she is one of the mothers of positive thinking. And I would go ahead and throw it in there and say a little positive psychology. The quote that is on her tombstone, just to close: love lights more fires than hate extinguishes. I look.
Well, I sure believe that.
I love that. I believe that.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I'm all in.
I was like, I believe
I
that.
accept.
Hey.
I accept. All right.
Yes.
So, question of the day.
All right.
The question of the day is: what do you do when you can't find something positive to think about? Like you just can't get it. It's just not happening. What do you do?
So, definitely in that situation, it's not as frequent as it used to be for me because of how vigorously I practice my positive psychology.
Okay.
But
Kudos
it does.
to you.
But it does still happen. it will appear, and it'll be like, and I'll be upset with myself, like I'm going to my toolbox, and sometimes things aren't working, and I just want to get rid of that feeling, that negative feeling, not feeling positive. But acceptance is huge. That's a healthy word that I feed myself. It doesn't necessarily make me feel positive.
So like a willingness.
Yeah, it's a willingness to go through the emotion, because, just trying to escape quick and get positive isn't necessarily always what you need to do. Sometimes you really have to sit in it, work through it, accept it, and it like this whole adventure thing we're always talking about. Get curious and find out why you're feeling that way. What is the root of it? So you dig deep in, like, I would say a couple of 2 to 3 weeks ago, I had a little bout of insomnia.
Okay.
And I heard about some unpleasant things that happened with family members and so on and so forth. Like, I understood what the trigger was, but, I was going through my whole positive psychology practice, all my principles, and I was like, wow, I
still feel the same.
I'm still laying in bed and I can't really sleep. And I'm like, all right, I just had to accept it. And just accept and let it flow through. And then there were some other deep things that came up from childhood that I was able to work through. So with that curiosity and acceptance, those will definitely get you through and back to your positive way, your positive mindset, your positive thinking.
I just to piggyback on what you said about acceptance, one of my favorite things that one of my mentors had told me years ago was, if you don't accept something, you can't manage it, manipulate it. You can't do something with it. Right? Like, if your hands are closed and they are not willing to accept, then you can't receive. And so, to that point, I guess what you're saying, in my mind, is that if we accept why we feel a certain way, we can look at it authentically. And that gives us the ability to work with it and stay curious about what is this. There must be some positive application. And I guess, what I would say, just to piggyback on, just to say, is that staying curious about the positive benefit of something.
Right, like working through it, because it is, if you're in a negative state of mind, you're feeling negative or down or whatever, and but you desire to get out of that. Then that is your adversity and your challenge in that moment. That is the adversity is right there, and you want to work through it, and you're like, all right, this is challenging me to be greater. How? Why? And often it's an opportunity to heal a wound, heal an emotion. But that is from what I've experienced, is that it is a opportunity for me to heal something, a pain that's been there for quite some time. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. It's an opportunity.
An opportunity.
There it is. There it is. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question of the day.
No, I kind of, I talk to people, and they've given us a lot of questions that I don't always have the answer for, so I'm glad to share with you. I'm glad to talk about it, bounce it back and forth. Are we good?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
And remember to be kinder to yourself, be kinder to others, and keep on carrorizing.
Goodbye.